Chicago, where the fire serve cold, but the Wolves and the Hawks never shiver in the snow. The Bulls keep it running, the Sox run the South, the Cubs run the North, but the Bears run the house. True Chicago sports fans got their ears to the street. Any team make a move and they never skip a beat. And in this house, this is where we be. Welcome to the show with E-Roc and Big-Z.
Welcome to Chicago.
Yeah.
Coming from the True Chicago Sports Fan Cave, this is the TCSF podcast with your hosts, E-Roc and Big-Z.
That's right.
Episode 22 is brought to you by Noir, Ceasar, Village Radio Studios, and Grit Clothing Company. As always, I'm Big-Z, and I'm here with my co-host, E-Roc. What's up, E?
What's going on, Z? We got another action-packed, great show going on today. Tons of Chicago sports to talk about in the loop. Undefeated Notre Dame Fighting Irish to finish out the season.
That's right.
And as always, in our 3 and Out segment, our weekly Bears analyst, Il Brown, gives us his X's and O's on Sunday's game versus Matt Stafford and the Lions. And we look ahead to the Bears matchup against the Houston Texans and the one who got away.
No, Deshaun Watson. My bad. I think Il Brown might catch a case this week, man.
Oh, man, he's ready. He's hot. He's ready to go.
Yeah, I can't wait to get into some Bears talk. But first, this is The Loop, our Chicago sports roundup where we keep you in the loop.
This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago.
This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago.
What's up, E? What's going on in the north side of town? Any good news out there?
Man, this has been a weird, wild week.
Oh, man.
The Cubs non-tendered Kyle Schwarber. Now he's now a free agent. And after 6 seasons with the Chicago Cubs, Schwarber's no longer with us on the team, man.
You know what? To be honest, Schwarber's one of my favorite guys on your team. Was on your team.
Oh.
It was great to see him grow up with the organization, from being a catcher to being moved to left field,
right,
and learning how to play left field, and then losing all that weight, and then then blowing out his knee before that's in the beginning of the season,
coming back, providing some of the most memorable moments in Cubs playoff history. Yes. His home runs landing on the scoreboard, all this stuff. I mean, that's the thing. Schwarber is always going to be a fan favorite. He's going to be one of these dudes. I feel here's the problem. I feel like back in the day, you had these like stars. I promise you right now, any one of the 85 Bears could come in any restaurant in Chicago right now and it's probably still get a free meal. And I feel like the Cubs that won that 16 series are not getting that same respect. Because look, Madden's out of town.
I mean, these people still like Madden. I mean, they're
so thirsty to get rid of these guys. That's what I'm saying.
I wouldn't say they're thirsty. I think the Cubs are really trying to save money every penny they can.
I'm not saying the Cubs. I'm saying fans.
No,
fans are throwing these players away.
They shouldn't.
No,
and they shouldn't at all.
Because I feel like. Maybe I'm overvaluing the idea of it or whatever, but the Cubs won the World Series for the first time in 108 years, and a lot of Cubs fans are like, get rid of this guy, get rid of that guy. Key contributors when you're like, hey, I would love to see him stay here and grow with the organization.
If Schwarber was 37, I'd be like, yeah. But he's 27. He's in his hitting prime.
That's what I'm saying. So it's tanking. I mean, look, Schwarber was only 27. He was in the final year of arbitration. But the team decided to let him go rather than pay him his $8 or $9 million next season.
$8 or $9 million is a steal for a power hitter for 30 home runs this season.
Exactly, and he hit this year.
Oh my God,
he hit this year. Schwarber, he was a key element to the Cubs winning the World Series in 2016, and he provided us with some like numerous moments, like that home run, like I was talking about earlier, like him getting his knee busted up and then being able to come back. Period, was a huge thing.
Yeah, I remember watching that game live when he busted up his knee, and I was like, oh no, that's horrible. But then,
and that's when they had just got Fowler back too, and as soon as they get Fowler, they collide and bust up the knee.
Right. Well, let's see.
The Cubs did extend a couple contracts. You got Chris Bryant, which they needed to do. We talked about it last week. It had to happen.
It was one or the other.
They at least had to, offer him the contract. Yes. Now we'll see what happens next. But your boy Ednel Javier Baez got a contract as well, and Wilson.
I mean, this is your core, quote unquote core here. Now, will they?
You can't let Brian go for nothing. That's why. Schwarber, I still think they could have made that trade.
We got to remember
anything.
We got to remember he got non-tender, which means he cleared waivers.
I know.
No one wanted him then for that price because one, Well, actually, let me stop right there. 15 teams didn't want him because it's not official that the NL is going to get the DH yet.
Yeah.
So, anything else happened on the north side?
So there was a lot of people. It was a mixed bag of emotions on this one. Len Casper is leaving the Chicago Cubs TV booth to join the Chicago White Sox radio booth.
Yeah, I think it's a good addition for us. I think you guys are losing a really good guy in the booth, but it was his aspirations to switch over to radio.
It was his dream to go to radio, and that's why he left, and he said that out loud, and he asked the Cubs for permission, saying, hey, there's a local job, it's a radio job. The whole reason I got into announcing is in the first place is to be on the radio, and if you've been listening to Cubs radio, he's come in several times for Pat Hughes and either did an inning or two with Ron Coomer, or he just filled in for him if he was sick or something like that. So you could see that he wants to be on the radio, and so it's not just a fluke thing that he's just jumping ship.
He's a great voice, so him transitioning to radio is going to be, a hand inside of a glove. It's going to fit perfectly. How he meshes with DJ, that'll take some time. I mean, well, DJ's a color guy.
Yeah.
So that's okay. But you're stepping into some big shoes.
Well, and see, the thing is that JD is not Len Casper's first partner, so it's not like he hasn't. Like I said, he did a little bit of Cubs radio with Ron Coomer. He had Jim DeShays, and don't forget he had the Arizona Diamondbacks coach
Bob Brenly.
Bob Brenly for a long time.
Yeah.
That's who really came up, and Brenly was getting in all types of trouble because he kept yelling at the players while he was in the booth.
All right, let's talk about the Chicago's real baseball team. Yeah. Talking to you, Chris.
Oh, wow.
The Chicago White Sox rounded out their coaching staff. They added Miguel Cairo as their bench coach. Ethan Katz was already mentioned as the pitching coach. Kurt Hassler as their assistant pitching coach. Frank Menachino as hitting coach. Howie Clark as the assistant hitting coach. Darryl Boston comes back as the first base. Joe McEwing back at third base. They also added Shelly Duncan as the analytics coordinator. So
now, Shelly Duncan was with the Cardinals for a long time, wasn't he?
I don't know. That was Dave Duncan. No,
okay.
I'm joking. I know Shelly Duncan was. Probably,
was it maybe his son? I want to say there was another Duncan in the league.
Dave Duncan. I don't know. Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' Donuts. Doesn't matter. No, it's David. It's David Shelly Duncan. Yeah, former baseball player, played for the Yankees and so forth.
There you go.
So, the White Sox got their staff under La Embarrassment rounded out. I'm still calling him the La Embarrassment until he starts winning some games for us. We mentioned earlier Len Casper's joining the booth of White Sox, and I think it's going to be a great addition. He will also give Steve Stone a break when Steve Stone has his off days. So that means him and Benetti will be doing a cast together. Now it'll be interesting.
That is going to be interesting.
Two nerds talking baseball.
And not just
in a good way. I love it.
And two non-athletes. Like a lot of times you get one athlete in the booth.
Yes.
Just because of the way that they analyze the game differently, but
Yeah, and Benetti's got about 47 jobs. So when he's away doing another call, he'll be in there with Steve Stone. And he alluded saying, that's been one of my dreams to call a game with Steve Stone.
Right. Hey, well,
whose was it? I mean, I want to call a game with Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. Jesus. I mean, so now Len Casper joins one of the many who have broadcasted on both sides of town.
Yes, we were talking about this earlier.
Steve Stone right there, number one. Harry Carey,
Jack Brickhouse.
So I mean, that's the thing is that I don't know if these guys are always necessarily jumping ship. They're just, hey, I love Chicago. I like baseball. That's a natural fit. So. I mean, good for Len. He's always wanted to do radio, so good for him.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear these guys on the radio because we do listen to these games on the radio. Football,
all the time.
Baseball,
all the time. But Ron Santo, his analysis on the radio, if you want to call it that, 'cause I won't. It's listening to him, his pure fandom on the radio.
Yeah, it's what made me fall in love.
100%. That's the biggest reason why when you have people hate Joe Buck or this person or that person, because you're especially in baseball, you're so used to listening to your homers call your games on TV and on the radio. Your homer announcers who will just boost up your team and trash the other team no matter what.
The fans are used to that soft bed with the groove in it. Yeah. And then we just get snuggled up in my little groove.
Exactly.
And then you know,
and all of a sudden you get a national guy who will praise the good players on the other teams too, and you're like, wait a minute, he hates my team.
No,
he doesn't care about your team.
He's calling it down the middle.
Exactly.
All right, man. What's going on the west side of Chicago?
So Joakim Noah is retired, man. He's done.
Yeah, that's the word on the street. He's retired.
Yeah, well, his knee's been busted up for a while. He's been hanging out with beautiful girls on the beach. I mean, you know, he's retired from basketball, but he ain't retired. No, he had an amazing career. He had 2 national titles, the University of Florida.
That's right.
I wasn't a Joakim Noah guy when they drafted him.
No, I thought, man, who's this clown?
Yeah, he's this big goofy dude with the hair flopping all over the place. I remember when they drafted him, and I was just like, oh,
and I remember how he used to rub the veterans the wrong way.
Yeah.
And he was messing around, and the veterans had to have a team meeting and discipline him for like 2 games or something.
And that's the thing, is that you watched him grow up from like that goofy kid into like a great NBA player, a leader. He was the NBA Defensive Player of the Year for 1 year. He evolved into like one of the most passionate, spirited players to ever put on a Bulls uniform.
Yeah, I mean, what a career. He's always going to be beloved in the city of Chicago. He does a lot of charitable stuff here. Cheers to you, Joakim. You're one of my favorites.
Over time, you know what it was? I remember when he did kind of that when Waddle and Silvery were doing that lunch with a legend thing. Yeah. He did they also did a lunch with Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah. And I remember him talking, they brought on Billy Donovan on the phone while they were there on the air. Okay. And that was one kind of, you hear the way that he respected that coach. So I'm wondering if they don't bring in Noah as some type of coach in some capacity. Because having a guy like that, even around your team, is a good idea, in my opinion.
I mean, that wouldn't be a bad idea. I mean, you got age. You know, a lot of these NBA players, once they know they're done, they'll slide into the last coaching seat.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there'll be that guy that's, all right, let me sit down. And when the player gets, subbed out, hey, come sit down next to me. Let me talk to you for a second.
Right, let me bend your ear.
Yeah, let me bend your ear. This is what you're doing wrong. Hey, position yourself here. Move your feet here.
Right.
Joakim can do that.
And that should help someone like Lauri Markkanen tremendously.
It'll build some toughness.
Right.
I'll tell you that much, because Joakim was tough.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, all right. Absolutely.
All right, Northwestern was postponed due to COVID. They'll play Illinois next week, right?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately,
that's... And the thing is that should be a cakewalk, but last time we talked about that...
Well. Yeah, last time we talked about Northwestern, they lose to Michigan State. And Illinois, I mean, they've been putting up some decent points, so, I mean, they're not a complete bum like they normally are, but...
Yeah, but Northwestern's caliber of team is way better than Illinois. And this should be an easy win. This should be a 40-burger on Illinois. Let's say 40-13.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm with it, man. I'm with it, man. I mean, like they definitely put their stamp on the season, and they've looked pretty good so far this year.
Yeah, hopefully they don't lose their coach to another team in Chicago.
That's so. Yeah, we can talk about that, because the thing is that first we were hearing rumors that Fitzgerald would only leave for the Bears, and now we're hearing that they're actually, from I think it was Bleacher Report, said that they are going to target him after the end of the season.
Why wouldn't you?
I wouldn't if I was him. I mean, I get it. I get it.
He's the number one target.
Here's the thing. I get it that his dream is to be an NFL head coach, but I mean, you look at some of these guys that are college football coaches. That Kirk Ferentz. You think about Kirk Ferentz, the first thing I think about is Iowa. He's been there forever.
I'm joking.
But what I'm saying is that you get some like Nick Saban. Yes. Dabo Swinney is starting to niche out.
They're college
Brian
staples.
Kelly right here.
They're college staples.
These guys that coach for 40 years. I mean, he could live comfortably in Evanston and just be there and be the coach forever.
Bud Kilmer, no? Bud Kilmer.
Yeah. But you understand what I'm saying? Like, to me, I don't see him having a lot of success in the NFL.
If you were to advise him, you're saying stay there.
Stay there, because I don't think he's a good enough coach to be an NFL head coach. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
He hasn't had the caliber of players that you have in the NFL.
And I agree. This is more of a nostalgia thing, but again, we gotta stop doing projects with our teams.
And Fitzgerald would be a project altogether.
Exactly, because you don't know who the GM, you don't know the president, you don't know.
Well, just it's
a lot of what ifs.
Inexperienced in NFL, and that's what happens a lot of times.
Yeah. All right. What's going on in South Bend?
South Bend, baby. Notre Dame Fighting Irish finished the season undefeated with a 45-21 win over the 1-10 Syracuse Orange.
And that's how you put away the team, man.
That's exactly what you're supposed to do. They started off slow, but they picked it up.
They did.
Kyron Williams and Ian Book both looked great. Williams ran for 110 yards and 10 carries, and Ian Book threw for 3 touchdowns, and he rushed for 2 more. You know, like I said, it took a while for the Irish to get going, but they only led 3-0 after the first. But by halftime, they were up 24-7.
Beautiful. I mean, I had this game on. I was doing a lot of stuff around the house, and I'm starting to be like E with multiple screens on at the same time and music going on. So I was doing all that stuff, and I had the game on with no sound. But I was watching these beautiful throws by Ian Book, and then Kyron Williams was just tearing up the field, man.
Yeah, I mean, and they've been doing that all season.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing that did stick out to me, you have 50-year wide receiver for the Irish, Javon McKinley. He had a great final season. He caught 30 passes for 549 yards, and he led Notre Dame in both categories this year. 5th year, this is last chance for romance for him. You know, Ian Book finished out his season or his career at Notre Dame as undefeated in South Bend.
That's beautiful.
I mean, it's an incredible thing. They didn't face like their traditional rivals like USC, like Navy, no Michigan State, and they were forced to play in the ACC. So you kind of saw some matchups you weren't always going to see, but I mean,
you got to play who's on the schedule,
and that's it. And they were basically forced to join the ACC, or they don't play this year because as an independent, you kind of make your own schedule. So look, I want to talk about Ian Book for a minute. A lot of people have already seen like the Bears calling on the Bears to draft him. Let's slow down a little bit. Let's slow down a little bit because Notre Dame has been a long time since you had like a great quarterback come out of Notre Dame, a great NFL. Right.
That's forever.
Montana and Theismann were the two in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
So you can go through Brady Quinn, Deshaun Kaiser, all these guys, Everett Golson. Yeah. They're not NFL guys. So Ian Book is a little dude. He's only 6 foot tall. He's 206 pounds. He's a winner. I can't front on him for that. And last couple of years, we've had some smaller quarterbacks do pretty well in the NFL. Kyler Murray looks okay. Baker looks all right. Drew Brees is the standard for that type of thing. But I don't know how well Ian Book is going to do in the NFL. But I am glad. I'm happy for him to be added to the list. Very short list. I want to say it's like Montana and Theismann are on that list. But to be undefeated, at home for your whole career.
Unfortunately, he didn't have any fans there, which really sucked.
Yeah.
But, what's up next for Notre Dame?
So next up for the Irish is the ACC title game, and they're going to play their rematch against number 3 Clemson on December 19th. Trevor Lawrence is going to be back for that one.
Sunshine.
So that's the real test. If the defense is really what kind of popped this season, Ian Book did his thing. They looked. Kyron Williams is good. Mm-hmm. They looked good overall in offense. They did what they needed to do, and if they saw that they could really hit that gas pedal, they really overtook weaker teams. But the defense is really what did it for them this year.
That's great. Well, I look forward to watching this game. Okay, true Chicago sports fans, it's time to pay some bills. So we'll be right back after a brief word from our sponsor.
This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome back to the True Chicago Sports Fans Podcast with E-Roc and Big-Z.
Yeah.
Are you ready for some football?
Not today.
Ugh. It's time for some Bears talk. This is 3 and Out.
All right. Let's look at offense. Offensively, we didn't do too bad. We put up 30 points.
Right.
Not enough to win the game. Montgomery was being fed in the first half, and then the second half, they forgot he was on the team.
I mean, they fed him. You still had him with 2 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. Don't forget, you got 2 touchdowns out of him, and you also got a touchdown out of Patterson. Patterson looked okay.
Yeah.
But I think what you see in this offense is a clear difference in just the way it looks, the way it feels, than what you were seeing with Matt Nagy.
Yeah, A-Rob was A-Rob. You know, he's going to do what he does. He gets the receptions. He didn't have a touchdown today, but he was a force on the field.
And then at the end of the game, when he could have got that first down, it seemed like he jumped out a little bit early.
Yeah. We were talking off air about that. He jumped out a little early instead of getting that first down. We still had a timeout. I don't think he knew that.
Yeah, I mean, but you can't do that in NFL. You are a professional football player. You are a professional athlete. You have to know where you are with the clock. You have to know where you are on the field.
Agreed. Trubisky didn't play a bad game.
No, Trubisky, I think Trubisky might have looked as good as he did all season if we're talking about a complete game.
I mean, if we can play the Lions 16 times, he would look really good.
Well, he looked bad in the beginning of the Lions game and then in the first game, and then he came back to win. So, but what I say is, like, as far as the complete game is concerned, I think this is probably the best he's looked all season.
Yeah,
I also feel like if you would have been sitting here with laser calling plays from week 1 or week 2, we would have seen something similar to this for the whole season.
We would have a winning record, right?
We'd have a running game.
That too.
You know, we saw a couple times where Montgomery was able to, like, punch it right up the gut.
Yeah.
And this is the first time all season I can really remember him doing that.
Yeah, I remember telling you while watching the game, like, look at the offensive line up in the linebackers.
Right.
What is this?
Well, they had a couple of guys come back off of the COVID protocol. Mm-hmm. But Alex Bars is out there, you know, which we've been clamoring for a while now. He needs to be able to play.
Mm-hmm. What about on defense, E?
Defense, they looked good, but they're still not. There's a lot of arm tackles. There's a lot of, like, jumping, shoulder tackles, things like that.
So that bend don't break is kind of wobbly right now, huh?
But again, you know, you're tired. These guys are just exhausted out there.
I get it.
I mean, what are you supposed to do?
Mac is triple team just about every play. Double team.
Mac's triple team. I mean, this is what I'll say. The Bears defense realistically did enough to win. Mm-hmm. That last drive of the game. Remember what I told you? I says, Mitch, what's going to happen is they're going to leave too much time on the clock, and that's essentially what they did because they turned the ball over to the Lions, and then when they got the ball back, because it was 30-20. They didn't run the ball. The Bears the Lions were able to score. Now you're talking about 27-30, right? Mm-hmm. They left too much time on the clock so that if they did get a 3 and out, that the Lions would have a chance to get that score. Mm-hmm. And then Trubisky fumbles deep in our own territory, and guess what happens? They march right down and get that touchdown.
Well, that's a free throw for Stafford, being at what was it, a 20-yard line, whatever it was.
And I mean, Stafford. Here's the thing: Stafford had over 400 yards today, 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. Stafford? 1 interception, but still, come on.
Well, the interception was to who was that?
There was a tip ball.
Yeah,
there was a tip ball, and the big dude got it. That's what that was. So and
he made a play.
Yeah, and that's just a coverage interception right there. I mean.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, the defense is out there too long. Bend it, don't break. But, you know, just like a rubber band.
Yes.
You keep stretching that rubber band out, and guess what? It's going to snap in your face.
Exactly. And they're just getting tired at this point. I mean, like, you know, when they gave up that score, they had enough time. If they would have ran the ball, they could have got that ran the timeout and get the first downs they needed. That A-Rob not getting that first down at the end of the game really hurt because that would have took another, 45 seconds to a minute off the clock, and they would have been a lot closer. And you have to worry about that fumble later on.
Yeah, well, let's punt it over to our Bears analyst, Il Brown. What up, Il?
Peace, man. After a week hiatus.
You needed the week off. You needed it.
Yeah, I pride myself in being, I would like to say very politically correct, and I couldn't have promised you guys that last week.
I got you.
Not sure if I could promise it this week, but I'm going to try.
The frustration is boiling over at this point, huh?
Yeah, man. I'm not going to waste a lot of time today. I'm going to get right to business. This is one of those losses where there should be no press conference with the head coach. The only thing that you should see at the press conference is the interim coach telling you I'm taking over for the rest of the season. That's it. When they ask where Ryan Pace is, don't worry about him.
He on the bus.
Don't worry about him.
He on a bus to Toledo.
Don't worry about that guy. He's gone. Same with Ted Phillips. Like, we need football guys in this organization horribly. I mean, we need football minds in the front office.
Let me ask you a question. What did you think about the way that Mitch looked when he's got Bill Lazor at the helm versus Matt Nagy?
He looks much better, man.
Exactly.
I'll go on record as saying this, man. Mitch
Mitch
going to ever be like a franchise level quarterback that can go out and win you games and things like that? Probably no. But the dude's not really the reason why you lose games if you hit an offense.
Yes.
It's as simple as that, man. You give that kid a solid offensive line and a coach that's going to literally be like, look, man, we're going to turn this dude into Tannehill North.
The thing is with these players, these coaches, and Nagy specifically, he's not putting Mitch in the position to win, and that's what he didn't do as an offensive coordinator. And that was the thing that was really just annoying to me watching them play last year, is because you saw what they did in 2018. You saw they put Mitch in position to win by putting in plays that would magnify his skill set.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That would allow him to do the things that he does well. And then they came in 2019 and says, "Okay, I want you to be a pocket passer now." Well, he did horribly, and they only won those 8 games by the skin of their teeth against terrible quarterbacks like the backups they had in Detroit. So now you bring in. We looked at the whole season. They finally move over, and Lazer's probably sitting there like, "Hey, remember those things that worked in 2018? Let's try those again." And that's what today looked like.
You mean a running game and a bootleg?
What happened?
I mean, it's simple Madden 101.
Instead of the evolution of what this quarterback could have become from 2018 on out, you try to make him something that he's not.
Exactly.
And it's foolishness, man. Like, you wouldn't tell Lamar Jackson to be a pocket passer, man. I'm not saying Mitch is half the athlete as Lamar, but when you draft someone like Lamar, you know you have to let him run the ball. It's inevitable. You have to. It's what makes him effective. And it's like, stop trying to make this kid something he's not. Now you've ruined his confidence to the point where now he's just a shell of what he could have been. And what he could have been is a top 15 quarterback. And that's all you would have needed with this type of a defense.
What the defense is strong enough that you put them in a position to win, and they're going to win a lot of those games. But so let me. I mean, I know we've gone back and forth about Matt Nagy quite a bit, but do you think, like, as far as Matt Nagy is concerned, is this just about ego? Why are you trying to? Because it seemed like, again, were you just thinking that they were going to catch up to you, that you had to try something different in 2019, and that's what he kind of continued with into this season? What was it in his head that made him think that he needed to change the way that things were going when they were going decent?
Well, see, what happened is, first of all, we got who the guy we should have got was Eric Bieniemy. Matt Nagy is like on Scooby-Doo when you pull the mask off.
Mark Trestman's team scored points.
We knew it was Mark Trestman. You know, it's like...
Right. Yeah, who's currently the head coach of Michigan State.
Just crappy there because of Mel Tucker and those guys. But, yeah. And you see what's happening there. It's just dumbfounding that when you find something that works, why not enhance what works? Like, okay, if you insist on not building a dome stadium, and if you insist on not ever being able to find a quarterback,
that's what the Bears have always been known for. The defense and running the ball.
Defense and running the ball has to be a premium. But
you also have to run the ball.
Defense, we should never not have a top 5 running game in that regard, right? And the inability, okay, you want to go out and chase this great quarterback, right?
Yeah.
And that's elusive for 75% of the NFL. So we're not the only ones trying to find the next great quarterback. However, if you insist on finding the next great quarterback, then you must take the next great quarterback.
So my question to you is, you being in the industry, being in the trenches of football, who, in your mind, could they bring in to start with the top? So start as a president, go to GM, go to coach.
First of all, you got to get some guys that can get some guys, if that makes sense. You have to make a splash. Like, if you're not getting at least someone on the level, I know Peyton Manning is inexperienced, so I wouldn't necessarily want to go in that direction, but somebody that can make the equivalent splash that he would. I would love to see.
Okay, I already know where you're going.
A guy that we watch on Monday Night Football,
and he's openly expressed interest in a GM job.
He's a football guy, Louis Riddick.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, he's talking about Louis Riddick.
I think he would do an excellent job because he knows the game.
You know.
Yes, Louis Riddick.
So,
he knows the game. He knows how you have to build a football team.
So what are we talking about? Someone like, would you put Manning, even without the experience, would you put him in the place of like a team president?
I would like to see Peyton Manning
pick the players.
Not necessarily.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean is like, because the president of the team is basically, and then you got your GM underneath that, and then you got your head coach, and then you got your quarterback.
So why not make him an assistant GM?
Who, Manning?
Mm-hmm.
Manning. Yeah, I need Peyton Manning to get the keys.
Right. So here, tell me how this sounds to you. Peyton Manning as your football ops, your president, your Ted Phillips. Louis Riddick as your GM, and someone like Eric Bieniemy as your head coach.
Yes. I don't know if I could say this on air, but I just had an orgasm if that happens.
Right.
And that's the way it should always be in a market like Chicago. Period. And then the first order of business, that Peyton Manning goes, look, I don't know if anybody knows this. Everybody's like, it's Soldier Field in Chicago. It's outside. It's bear weather. Man, screw all of that. A lot of people don't even know that Soldier Field lost its landmark status with the Chicago Park District years ago. So stop lying to the people, Ted Phillips and all y'all.
Not after what they did to it.
There's nothing historic about Soldier Field anymore.
So if they move to, let's say, Arlington Heights or wherever.
I mean, here's the thing. It's not that far away from Chicago where it's like this long trip. You can build a beautiful field out there. You can build a beautiful park around it. You can surround the area. And this is what a lot of NFL teams do.
Build a multi-purpose dome.
Yeah, multi-purpose. You can have your Final Four. You can have a Super Bowl there.
Right.
And you can build a bunch of hotels around there. A bunch more, because there's a lot of apartment complexes near where that stadium would be. Mm-hmm. But you can build a ton of hotels. You can build up, you can build up the whole town realistically.
Exactly. You build a whole complex around it. Mm-hmm. You build your.
You don't even have to do that. You just knock over that eyesore.
They don't own that land. That's what I'm saying. The Bears have enough money to go buy a whole brand new piece of land, and then that's a whole new revenue stream as it is.
The Bears have enough money to convince every alderman
but what I'm saying
those wards and the
that versus a
to let them
multi-purpose dome that would be in the suburbs, like kind of like how I have in Dallas. You don't think that's a better? And that's in Arlington. That's not even Dallas, is it?
It's in Arlington.
It's not technically in Dallas. That's what I'm saying. They can keep
Soldier
Field.
Same thing with New York. New York has it in the Meadowlands.
It's in Jersey. So
I mean, Illinois has so much land. You can do that as well. But I'm going to do that.
That's a whole other ball game there. I think
it's been a while since we had an expansion, baby. Well, give me an AFC team. I need the ability.
Anyone who pays any attention knows that my favorite AFC team is undefeated right now. So I'm good, bro. I'm good. I'm covered right now. I got someone to root for.
I need something to root for, man. If we're gonna do all that, man, hey. Let the Bears stay over there and exercise futility at the highest level.
Well, there was something that I was talking about a little bit earlier, and I think when we went live after the game, you were talking about it as well. So Anthony Miller recently came out and says that one of the big problems they had most of the year, especially when Nagy was calling the plays, was that the plays that they were calling and practicing all week were not the plays that were actually installed in the game plan, not the plays that were called during the game plan. Now, like we famously know that Matt Nagy has been the play caller up until last week when they came off the bye, and Bill Lazor, I think that's when they came back. They came to it, and Bill, or maybe it was the game right before the bye. That Lazor was the one that took over. And then we heard a lot of things under wraps, behind the scenes, however you want to say it, about coaches kind of agreeing with that same sentiment. I don't understand what's the structure, what's the point of doing this in practice and not doing that during the game. So now I feel like at this point, aside from some stragglers and just people who are kind of just going through the motions out of respect for the head coach, it feels like he's lost the locker room, especially the receiving room, because you had Miller put that out there. Then you had A-Rob and Javon Wims all kind of piggyback on that and share it on Twitter and all this. But then you had some rumblings from a lot of the position coaches, things like that, kind of saying the same thing. So do you think that right now we're looking at a point where there's no coming back from Matt Nagy? Because like I said, to me, it sounds like he's basically snitching. He's throwing all of the players under the bus. He already threw Pace under the bus by doing what he did with with Foles and the way he switched everything up, he's just trying to make it everyone else's fault. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, what you're dealing with is the ultimate narcissist, man.
And it's always somebody else's fault.
He thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. He thinks he's always right. This dude had the nerve to call out a defense that has been bailing you out for your whole tenure in Chicago. You have the nerve to call out guys who on any other team will be Pro Bowl caliber players. Anthony Miller.
Yeah. And when he does, he's dynamic with the football when he gets it.
Anthony Miller never knows when he's going to get the ball.
But if you just throw him out of position, you don't lead him to the catch, you don't do any of those things that help your receivers be successful, then that's what you're going to get is him dropping the ball all the time.
If Anthony Miller's on the Packers or on the Steelers,
Anthony Miller, here's the thing. Anthony Miller is a perfect Green Bay Packers player because
he's getting 100 catches.
Yeah.
He's getting 100 catches
easily, because here's the thing. The Packers love the guys that are not too big. They're not even that fast, but they manage to get schemed open.
And they get open.
And then Aaron Rodgers throws the ball to a space, and they're there for it. Right. And that's what Anthony Miller does well. The other thing, too, is especially with Miller, with the injury problems that he's had, you can see he's got a little bit of that. If he starts to go in a bad way in the beginning of the game, he kind of stays that way the whole game. And that's how it goes. Mooney seems to like brush it off his shoulders.
There's no leader on the offensive side.
No.
Aaron Rodgers would be like, hey, get your S together.
Right. Get your crap together.
Yeah, get it together. I'm going to throw the ball at you right now.
Right. And then wake him up and snap him out of it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Mitch and Foles are not going to do that.
Mitch and Foles are not going to do that. And then if you really look at it, A-Rob's the same way, because remember a couple weeks ago, he's walking by himself, talking to himself, kicking things on the ground. Like, I didn't do that. Wait, are you sure I did it? No. You could see him talking to himself. So, I mean, these guys are fed up. And there's a reason why what you're going to see in a couple of years, A-Rob's not going to be here. Miller is not going to be here. Mooney is not going to be here. Trubisky is not going to be here. And they're going to be thriving with different teams. And we're going to be kicking ourselves all over again.
Will, I had a question for you. When coaches like Nagy, who are narcissistic and, throw everybody under the bus, what does that feel like in the locker room?
See, it's weird because these guys are paying you and you have to be a professional.
Yeah.
Right.
But in that locker room, it's a complete mutiny. It's a complete mutiny. They have to come out and dress it up for the media and all that stuff. That's all fluff. I'm telling y'all right now. It's all fluff. In that locker room is borderline fights happening in that locker room when the media is not around. Like when you first get to the locker room after a loss like today,
like Affetti not blocking?
People are being called out. That locker room from coaching staff. Oh, yeah. I'm talking that locker room from the coaching staff.
I know the
down to the players, down to the water boys and equipment managers.
And I mean, and it makes you got to think about any job that you have that's essentially a hostile work environment. The workers are not going to like the bosses, and that's essentially what it is. When you sit there and tell me it's my fault,
it's going to translate to the field.
Yeah, 100%. And what's frustrating is that you do see flashes of brilliance. You see flashes where Mitch wasn't the problem today. That fumble sucked, but Mitch was not the problem.
That wasn't on him
at all. The run. I mean, it's just a collective effort of stupid little things here and there that they had to find a way to. That was a very skillful way to lose a game.
But if you're undisciplined all year under Matt Nagy, guess what? You'll find a way to lose a game.
Spots here and there, and the thing about being undisciplined, it really comes from a spot of frustration, because even the guy with the biggest ego, when everything's going smoothly, he's cool too. Look at the way that the Pittsburgh Steelers were when they had Antonio Brown, and you had Juju, and you had Le'Veon Bell, and everything was going peachy. Hey, they were all cool. When it started going a little rough, then they all started getting, in their own heads. They started smelling their own crap, and they're like, hey, wait a minute, my smell's better than this team. Let me get out of here. Let me cause a ruckus. But when you look, even that year when you had Brandon Marshall and Cutler and Martellus Bennett, three guys who are a little bit off their rocker, if they were going smooth, the coaching was good enough, you can coexist. Sometimes you need those guys who are a little bit crazy.
You do. Every team is a little crazy on there.
Yeah, man. There's a 100% loss of respect for Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace, all those guys. Hey, you got some dogs in that locker room, man. You got guys like
Hicks is one of those guys that I kind of put where in the Brandon Marshall camp where he's he's real touchy. Mm-hmm. He's real touchy and he gets in his feelings real easy.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Absolutely.
It's just a matter of time.
Well, what's your prediction for next week's game versus the Houston Texans? And it is at home at Soldier Field.
The one who got away, Deshaun Watson.
I think you've seen Deshaun Watson come in here and show us who we should have drafted. I feel like
are you expecting another 40 burger?
Those guys get to come show the Bears up. They're going to take it.
The Houston has not been playing that well this year. They've been playing more recently when they got rid of Bill O'Brien, who just completely screwed that whole team up. Yeah, for David Johnson, not good once.
You go and get rid of Hopkins,
right?
But David Johnson in the league,
he was good for that 1 year. He was really good for 1 year, and then he got hurt right away. I think, but he ain't D-Hop. That was silly. No,
that dude hasn't been the same since that wrist injury, and. You go and trade a bona fide superstar.
You know the backstory on that, right?
Game changer.
The backstory is that Bill O'Brien didn't like D-Hop being around with all his baby mamas. He had like 3 baby mamas, and he didn't want them in the facility because they would all come and bring all the kids, and he kind of banned them or whatever, and that's really kind of how that went down, and that's why they started fighting.
Was he being like Sean Kemp?
Well, Sean Kemp, Sean Kemp was slam dunking all over the place, and I think D-Hop was doing the same. But the fact of the matter is that Bill O'Brien says, "Hey, I don't want them all around here," and that's where that fight really started, and they just didn't get along after that. So he shipped him out of town. It's stupid.
It's retarded.
Exactly.
On the field,
not at all. And that was just ego.
And children's mothers have nothing to do with what's going on the field. I'm 100% sure in times where. Mm-hmm. You don't need them to be there, the kids and the baby mamas to be around. They're not going to.
Sounds familiar.
That's just some narcissistic dictator BS, and it's.
So I don't know.
Sounds a lot like
I don't know if we're going to bother with the grades this week.
Nagy type crap as well.
I think we just kind of. We're over it at this point as far as that goes. But what do you think is what's your prediction for our score against the Texans?
Bears can get you 24, man. I got 30-24 Texans. Matt Nagy will find a way to get – and I'll tell y'all something else, too. Anytime a head coach hands over the reins to a coordinator, he's not fully getting out of the way. There's no coincidence.
Well, he's in the locker room trying to change things, and they never come out different, so – every year. I mean, this is basically Kenny Williams trying to still be the GM when Rick Hahn had the reins.
At the beginning, yeah.
Yeah. This is what we need Matt Nagy to do, man. You stand over there on the side. You hold that thing up to your mouth and shut your mouth.
Or they just mute his mic.
Up to your mouth, and you just stand there, man.
Yeah, they got to do it like the little brother. Don't connect the microphone.
Gear. Bill Lazor's been around this game for. He's seen everything from West Coast offenses to power runs.
Nothing new.
What can Matt Nagy tell Bill Lazor about offense? Absolutely nothing, man. The best thing Matt Nagy ever done in his life was say, "Hey, Andy Reid, Pat Mahomes can throw the ball through a freaking black hole if you need him to." And then Andy Reid coached them up and got rid of Nagy. Okay, go ahead and coach somewhere else. Thank you.
All right, everybody, and that's our Bears analyst, Il Brown. Check him out every week for his Bears expertise. And don't forget to check out his podcast, Beat the Block, available on all major platforms. Thanks, Will.
Ceasar is the first anime manga company to feature characters of color, bringing a level of flair and authenticity to the genre as a whole. With influences ranging from Japanese manga and animation, Western comics, streetwear, hip-hop, and various forms of cinema, Noir has created a unique style that can be appreciated by the masses. Check out noircaesar.com for more information.
Welcome back to the True Chicago Sports Fans Podcast with E-Roc and Big-Z.
Yeah.
It's that time again. You know what time it is. It's time for Stirring the Pot.
Oh, boy.
What do you got for us today, E?
So, like I said, last week we started moving into our Christmas season.
Oh, boy.
So now here, this is going to be a struggle for you, I think, because you could be on either side of the fence on this one.
Oh, man.
So, we're going. Typically, we do the big meal, the turkey, the meat, the starch, all that stuff. The big important meal on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, the ham with the pineapple.
And oh gosh, stop,
Mike. Hey, Mike.
But on Christmas, I mean, at least for the past few years with us, you do kind of more snacking throughout the day, and you'll have small sandwiches and hors d'oeuvres and whatever.
And watch some NBA. Okay.
And watch a lot of NBA because that's what they got going on Christmas and the same movies for the past 50 years.
Yeah, got your watch.
So, you're Die Hard. Is it a Christmas movie? I don't know. Anyway,
Lethal Weapon.
Oh, brother. Really going in the rabbit hole. So, as a young man who is both Puerto Rican and Mexican, I'm making you choose for Christmas.
Oh, no, I can't choose. I know where you're going. Oh, no.
Pasteles or tamales?
Oh, no. Can I have both on the plate? Fudgesicles. I'm gonna take tamales. Just because there's a variety in tamales. You can get sweet tamales, you can get red tamales, you can get green tamales, you can put pork, you can put chicken, you can get rajas con queso. I know I said that all white.
I think at Estrella Negra they had he had like
the tamale de
chocolate chip.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, yes, he does have the chocolate chip one for dessert. Yes,
with like ice cream and all this stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean,
I'm going tamales.
So this might be 3
weeks
consecutive weeks that we agree because tamales are way better. I'm sorry to tell y'all.
I'm going to agree with you. And then lately, the pasteles give me a little bit of a heartbit.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
A lot of seasoning.
Yeah, I mean, it's
our culture. We put a lot of seasoning.
Yeah, a little bit too much garlic and way too much salt, and that's how that goes. Yeah, I mean, I can't even front on that one. Tamales are the way to go to me. I've never been real big on pasteles anyway.
Okay.
And I mean, like, somebody always has like a titia or abuela in the neighborhood be like, hey, were we just watching that thing about...
something like a crack house.
you got a small sign. You got to put it on the dark web. Who got the tamales right now?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
All right, so I'm bringing tamales next week.
Yeah, baby.
There goes your diet.
Hey. It's the holidays. that's why they make coats for the winter time so you can cover up the fat spots.
That's right. All right, man, let's get out of here.
All right, y'all. That is it for today. Thank you for listening. If you like what you hear, remember to give us a review and 5 stars on your listening apps. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned as we continue to bring more content as we go live every week on Facebook after the Bears game. We like interacting with you guys. It's so much fun. A lot of times we try to bring that into the show, so we appreciate you, and always feel free to drop us a line. A big thank you to our sponsors, Noir, Ceasar, Villain Radio Studios, and Grit Clothing Company. Don't forget to check out gritclothingco.com and use our promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off your entire order. And special thanks to this week's guest, Bears analyst Il Brown. Don't forget to check out his podcast, Beat the Block, which is available on all major platforms. Shout out to Ronesh and shout out to our super producer, Jay Soto. Want to start a podcast and have your show sound as clean and crisp as ours? You can find everything you need at www.jsotomedia.com. Check us out on social media. You can find us at True Shy Fans on Twitter and on TikTok. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and reach out to us on our email. We want to hear from you guys. Reach us at truechicagosportsfans@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out the AllNet podcast with Mike, Logic, and Ideal. Brand new episodes every other Monday, coincided with the NBA season. All right, y'all. For Big Z, this is E-Roc. We'll see you next week for episode 23. And until then, be good to each other.
For the love of sports.
Yeah. Bye, buddy.
A few moments later.
You have a lot of incest.
That's real.
Shut your mouth.
Lover boy.
Nature versus nurture, Lodge. Nature always wins.
I think he's on steroids.
Hasta luego, amigos.
Show's over, show's over, show's over.